meeting now, and then what we'll do is, thank you, Shah. If anyone's got any concerns about that, we'll amend that after in terms of making sure that all the approvals are given. So your approval and your consent is assumed in terms of any comments that are made, your image if you come onto the screen, or your photo. And just to make sure that you're aware that other people may view this at other times, because obviously it's one of our first member events online. So without any further ado, if people do wish to make a comment as I go through the presentation, please do raise your hand, either give me a wave or use the raise hand function on Teams. You can also pop a comment or a question in the chat, which is to the right of the screen. You'll be able to email us after. We will be putting our email address and contact details in the chat box as well, so that you'll be able to contact us if you want to raise anything after the meeting. We've got a copy of the presentation, which we'll be able to share with you as well if you'd like a copy of that. And we might be able to even pop that in the chat, dependent on whether or not people are interested in it. So questions are at the end, but if people do wish to do have any questions beforehand, please do let me know, and I'm happy to take it. I would like today's session to be informal, helpful, and give you an overview of what we're proposing and what we'll be putting in place for our new website and our new intranet. I have a presentation to share with you all, which I will do so shortly. I'm working from home today because it's that season where little people have nativity plays. So I hope you forgive me as I sit in my kitchen and work through the presentation, having been to my little boy's nativity this afternoon. So I will share the screen, and that means I won't be able to see you guys, but my colleagues, Charlotte, Amanda, Lois, Danny, will be able to give us a wave or a shout if people do have any questions. Before I carry on though, is there anything else, or are there any questions that people want to pick up from that, or indeed about anything before we go into our new website and intranet? Make sense so far? Everyone can hear me? I'm not going too fast. Okay, brill. Lovely. I will now share my screen. Thank you ever so much. This is where it gets a little bit technical when you're on one teeny tiny laptop. You'll all be able to see yourselves for a moment. Now, I can't see you because I can only see now the screen in front of me around that says #Team CRH new website and intranet. But can I get a verbal from somebody to say that you can see my screen?
We can see that, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Brill. So we have worked with a developer called Frank Designs to create a brand new public-facing website. We will be launching this, and it will go live on Monday next week, so Monday the 18th of December. We went through a full procurement process for our new website and intranet, and I'll go through a bit of the background to it as we go forward, but exciting times here at Chesterfield. The background to this is that the current website is around 6 years old, and our new intranet is over 20 years old. Well, our current intranet is over 20 years old. For those of you that are internet savvy, you'll know that those, I think it's almost like dog years, to be fair, when it comes to digital technology, and that particularly our intranet was causing us some potential risks that as an organisation we needed to make sure that we were mitigating, and that we'd put in place a solid and robust website and intranet that would take us into the future. We took feedback from the public and from colleagues around the website being out of date, clunky, difficult to use, inaccessible, and our intranet was really, really difficult to navigate, and people weren't using it to its full or indeed any potential because it was just so hard to utilise. After the procurement process, now for those of you that don't know, when the NHS buys anything, whether it be a good or goods or services over a certain amount, we have to go through something called a procurement tender process, which basically means we go out to the market, to everybody that can provide that product that we're aware of, that's on a central framework. So all the people that can provide that product across the country sit together, and we go out to all of them to ask them whether or not they can help us. It's a legal process because of the amount that we're spending on this, and we go through that to make sure that we're getting the best value for the public purse. Frank Design won the tender to create the new public-facing website and the staff-facing intranet extranet, based on a really robust process. And we started working with them on that in July of this year. So it's taken some development, and before that, it probably took about a year to go through the full procurement process to get us to that place. So we've gone through a really thorough and robust process to make sure that we've got the briefing just as we needed it. The aim of the session today is to give you an overview of the process, where we've got to with the new website and intranet, share ideas, create something, well, help us to create something that we'll be really proud of and that will work for you as members of our community, and also take any ideas that you've got. We know that this is a journey and not a destination. There's no such thing as the perfect website. We know that we will be developing it over time, and that we'll be working that through with our colleagues and with our partners and with yourselves as members of the public, and we'll also be trying to make sure that we're growing the website and developing it so that it's fit for purpose. The intranet, not something that will be as a much direct interest to you, but we would love to spend a little bit of time covering that today so we can get your views. Does anybody have any questions so far? If so, please do shout up because I can't see. Okay, I'm going to move us through. The timeframes, so the public-facing website, we've gone through a series of programme management, if you like, gateways or different things that we needed to do to get to this point. We've done the design and sign-off, we've done content collection and the creation deadline in terms of the look and feel of the site itself. We've done some training with colleagues and uploaded, and the approval of the content is currently happening, and colleagues in my team are working pretty much round the clock to make sure that our website is as good as it can be and ready to go next Monday. Hopefully a really lovely Christmas present. So the current public-facing website was for you to be clunky, old-fashioned, inaccessible, and quite old hat, if we may. So as much as we had some great photos on there, quite a lot of the content was really difficult to make sure that it was up to date and that it was accurate, because it was a bit of a beast that we'd created. And we'd got a bit of an accessibility issue, which we think we've addressed, well, we know we've addressed now, and that will be fully accessible going forward. There are a number of criteria that we need to follow to make sure that the website is as accessible as possible, and that's a bit of a journey for us as well. We won't be fully there for a number of years, because we're not allowed to post PDFs on the website for it to be totally accessible, because of screen readers. So we're just working through how we can do that and develop that, because as you can imagine, quite a lot of the content that we're producing will be in PDF. So that will be a process that we get to, but it will be a lot more accessible. So the first draft of the public website was some designs that came through, and we took feedback on this from governors and from our colleagues across the organisation. Now, I'm going to throw it out there. You might not be able to see this, so I might zoom in a little bit if I can. Yeah. Can anybody spot the deliberate mistake? That wasn't a deliberate mistake, but did make us all smile. Anybody going to notice it? The fact that they spelled Chesterfield wrong was a little bit of a concern for me, but we've sorted it out now. You'll be pleased to know. We aren't. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it, Chesterfied, but we have we've taken the feedback on board, and that people wanted it to be less corporate, more friendly, still like the white space, but wanted to develop it to be more reflective of our communities. It felt a little bit generic for a number of people. I'll move through. We gave that feedback working with Frank. Always makes it sound like I'm talking about a person there, doesn't it? And then move to the next stage. So this was again the first draft, and you can see some of the icons that we really wanted to include, the infographics as we call them, the icons, and how we've gone on to develop them. Really like the photographs, but wanted to see bigger photos and more accessible use. You can see how difficult some of this was to navigate. So we've fed that back. And we moved to the second draft, which we started to like a lot more in terms of bigger pictures, which we'll be able to move. This was static, which means it didn't move at the time. We've now changed that so that this will be what we call a carousel. So there'll be 3 stories that move around on the front page of the website. So people will be able to be drawn to the most interesting or the most important information that we have and we want to display at that time. So for example, at the moment, I'm sure it won't be a surprise to many of you, but we are in what we call winter pressures. There is a lot of pressure on the hospital at the moment operationally. We are struggling and we need people to choose the right services for their care. That means that we need to make sure that people understand what they are. So we'll, for example, on the new website, be talking about the best place to access their care dependent on what their requirements are. So we've put in our winter campaign, our discharge campaign. And we also have quite a lot of pressure at the moment concerning infection prevention and control. So hand washing is key. So we've put in on key information around hand hygiene and not visiting the hospital if you have any respiratory illnesses or D&V. So just to give you a flavour of some of the core messages, we also have some key information that we know people go to our website a lot for. So we'd make sure that that was easily accessible. We then got to the final design of the public-facing website, which again is really clear, concise. Really, the feedback has been that people liked, for example, the yellow bar to highlight a specific topic. We could put high-level notices on there. For example, when we had Storm Babette a number of weeks ago, we could have put an announcement on for our future website. If we've got computers or phone systems down, we could put that on as a notice here. We've got working with us, getting here, our charity, your views and contact us. So these will be clear icons that will be able to take people to the most accessible, the most required and accessed information first. This little button here is a really neat new addition for our new website. I've mentioned our intranet. So our intranet is just for our staff, our colleagues. It won't be called Staff Intranet. We're out to a competition at the moment for colleagues across the organisation to name our new intranet. Once named, that will link in here and we'll probably mention that it, and we'll have a line to explain that it's the staff zone or intranet area of the website. People will be able to click on that, colleagues anywhere in the world, which they can't currently do. They'll be able to put in their username and passwords and be able to access all their policies and procedures and information, which makes things like the virtual ward, our community-based services far more able to access the policies, procedures, and information that they need to whilst they're out of the hospital. The current intranet, then moving on, if I may, in fact, I might just take a step back. Are there any questions so far on the website? No? Okay, I'll move on to the intranet. The new the old intranet looks quite dated, colourful, lots and lots and lots of information. As a new colleague, I started with the trust about 2.5 years ago, and understanding why things are in the places that they are was a little bit like walking in someone else's kitchen and not understanding where to find things. And equally, let's just say the mugs weren't next to the kettle. We couldn't find where anything needed to go or how to access anything. So we've done as best a job as we can, but we're now starting with a blank piece of paper and moving quite a lot of the content off the new intranet because it doesn't need to be there because it's old. But we're also, and you'll notice the old logo, for example, but we're also looking at how we use and move the information that does need to be lifted and shifted to the new intranet so that colleagues are, well, have a service that's as efficient and as effective as possible. Examples of staff intranets from other trusts were reviewed in great detail and about how they are viewed, not just on a main Facebook page, a main computer, but also on laptops, iPads, phones, because we know that colleagues access that information out of hours, for example, and in different formats. So we wanted to make sure that our new intranet would do just that. The first draft of the intranet designs came through, and I don't know if colleagues on the call would agree with me on this. I'm sure they would. That we were really disappointed. It felt really corporate and really dry, and that's not something that the team here at Chesterfield is about. We are an organisation that's very much about our people, whether that be the people that work with us or our communities. So we fed that back and we moved through a number of designs and gave some really detailed feedback. And we moved to this model, which is far more colourful, friendly. And these icons here and these down this side also link directly to the icons that we use throughout all our internal communications and our staff app, which is an app that people that work for the trust can download onto their phones. So it has that cross-referencing, if you like, the same brand, the same look and feel. So if a member of staff is on this page, they'll know they're on the intranet as opposed to the website. They'll also be able to reference the same icons and images that are on the app and across all our other communications channels, which just makes it far easier and clearer and accessible. Really like the quick links here as well, because we know this is why colleagues come to our intranet pages and how people can access their services. The main thing that we know that people will be using it for as well with the clinical systems. So we've got links through to all the clinical systems, which when we get through to our electronic patient record, which we've just appointed Nervecentre, we'll be able to link directly with that and make sure that it's a seamless approach. So this, the selected name here will be adding on when we've got it, and we'll be making sure that it's clear and easy to read, but also that it adds a little bit of colour and a bit of interest. This banner here as well, we're also able to put photos behind this because the pictures that we're using are colleagues that work for the trust, and we want to make sure that colleagues' images are used throughout the website and intranet because, as I say, Chesterfield's about the people that live, work and use our care and services. The timeframes for the intranet mean that we will be going live on the 30th of January. And at that point, I think I'll have probably broke the communications team for a good few months thereafter. I have, in my last 22 years in the industry, never attempted to do a website and an intranet within a month of each other. So wish us luck. We're on with it, we'll do it, but it's taking some time, and we really appreciate the work that colleagues across the trust are doing to support us in getting that information up there and making sure that we're doing the very best we can. And to my team, publicly, thank you. You're doing incredible. And on that note, I will end and go for questions and feedback, and I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much. Any questions? Ken, I'm sure you were about to, you went.
Yes, indeed. You've shown us the intranet and how it'll look for staff. How's it going to look for me as a patient or me as a visitor? Yeah, I want to know where to go because I've got an appointment with the hospital and you're a big rambling place. So how on earth do I get to find that? If I've got a particular question about, who I'm going to see. And then also, is there anywhere it'll point me to say, here's something to help you, comfort me, if you like, about what's about, to happen to me, that sort of thing. So as a patient, what's going to happen to me? Where am I going to go? How are you going to look after me? How's that going to look? Yeah.
Brill. Ken, our intranet will solely be based for colleagues. So only colleagues that work here will use our intranet. So I'll bank the intranet, we'll leave it there. We won't come back to it on this question. The website, our internet page will be the public facing page, which you'll go to when you're at home, in terms of if you were to put in our URL, our web address, our website address, you'd be able to go to that. So next Monday at 12 noon, not a minute before, you'll be able to go to our brand new website. If you were to go to it at 11:59, you'd be going to our old website. On the new website, there will be information on there that will be really accessible to you. So, for example, if you were coming to the hospital for a procedure, if you would come into the hospital as a visitor, if you would come into the hospital as a volunteer, you'd be able to go on there and access that information that you needed. If you were coming for a particular service, and if I may off the top of my head, endoscopy, you'd be able to click on endoscopy, go through to services, go through to endoscopy, and all the information would be on there around endoscopy services. So there'd be patient information leaflets. There'd be information around how to access the service. If you were coming in as an inpatient, we've got our visitors charter that would be easily accessible and understandable. There would be information on what to bring with you, valuables, how to get here, catering, visiting times. In a way, and it's to some extent it's on there now, but it's not on there in a way that is accessible, in that you can easily get lost around the information. The map that you referred to is something that is a little bit of a bane of my life. The map will be renewed in the new year. At the moment, it's the old map. Site maps cost a lot of money, and as you'll be aware, last year we had a lot of developments across the trust. So we've waited until that capital build, all the capital builds are done. And yes, we've got the new Derwent unit, which is going to be replacing the Hartington for Derbyshire Derbyshire Mental Health Care Services. But we're just in the process now of looking at how do we redo that map and how do we make that interactive. One of the things that we're doing is potentially going to be working with students at Sheffield University to produce a highly detailed technology-based map that's interactive, so you'd be able to go through and access that. But that's one that's coming. That's one of those things where some of the stuff will be just moved over, so it's more accessible and in a better place for you to navigate, if you like, around the site. But as we move forward and develop it further next year, it will get better. So in short, a lot more easily readable, a lot more easily accessible, and a lot more easy to understand, and it'll all be on there that you've suggested so far.
Okay, just one final thing. I might give away my background here. In terms of user testing this thing, have you chucked it at any of us over 70s who may not be very familiar with how one negotiates something on the web? Yeah, there's lots of people of my age who, sort of, they're frightened by this thing. Have you chucked it at them to say, have a go, and seen how many sort of smiles and tears that there have been?
We've had no tears, so I'm going to take it. But absolutely, we've done a number of market testing, but there's always more that we can do. There's accessibility functions that will be throughout the site, so you can make the font a lot bigger, and that's really easy in terms of scrolling to the bottom of the page, and it's pretty obvious and intuitive how to access it. We're always up for feedback, and what we'll do when we first launch it is hear that feedback. Now, the system that we use, we know is being tested around the country, in that we've not created something that is, we've not produced a Lamborghini when everybody just wants a Ford Focus. We've created a really, really good Ford Focus that's really open so that anybody can get in it and drive it. And by that, I hope you understand what I'm trying to communicate, in that what we're doing is making it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible, and that will only grow in time. So no tears so far, lots of positive feedback, always open to more. And the systems that we've used and how we've chunked out the site, if you like, the structure of the site has all been tested at a number of other trusts. So we're not the first to do it. So we've learned from that best practice. So lots and lots, thousands of people have been involved in scoping it over the years. It's called Concrete 5 as the content management system that, if you like, supports everything that we're doing. And obviously we've got all the years of experience within the comms team and across the organisation. But I would be more than happy for you to try to break it and tell us how we can improve it. That would be brilliant. I've got some comments in the chat. I'll come back to those shortly, but I've got Pervase, over to you, sir, if that's all right. Oh, you're on mute. I don't know if I can take you off. I can't take you off mute. You're still on mute. Tell you what, while you're figuring that out, I will, because it'll be the law of sod, won't it? So I'll move to the next comment in the chat items. The question is, have colleagues beta tested the new website, the new public facing have patients beta tested the new public facing website? Yes, we've done a number of sessions and engagement sessions with patients, the public, governors, staff, and as I've just said to Ken, David, more than happy to share that and to develop that further. And work that through, because we've obviously taken as much best practice as we can from across the country. Did anyone look at the information on the new website to see if it's health literate, and have you included the access-able information? The access-able information, easy for me to say, will definitely be on there. It will be a key feature for us, and we're hoping that it will support and make sure that we've got as much accessibility as possible. I'm not overly sure what you mean by health literate, aside from the accessibility and the reading ages, and making sure that information is available in different languages and formats, Tracy. So I'm not sure if you want to expand on that one for me.
I was thinking about, lack of jargon, nice, easy, short sentences. So
Yeah.
thinking about, that anything that you read is suitable for somebody who's got a degree, but also somebody who perhaps struggles with literacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we're very much focused on. So the information on there should be accessible to the majority. Like I say, the Ford Focus rather than the Lamborghini, if I may, but absolutely. And we've also really clear that information is available in different languages and formats. So it's automatically translatable into a number of languages so that it's auto translated. So if you wanted to go on and select one of those languages, it will do that. Equally, if you wanted information in easy read, we'll be more than happy to provide that, so it will allow us to do so. Please don't overlook digital deprivation. Absolutely, David, it's not something that we overlook. From a digital perspective, our website and intranet is certainly not our only means of communication, and indeed isn't our primary form of communication. We're acutely aware of that. I've got replies there. I think I've cleaned the chat for now, so I'll go to Ken. I don't know if I answered your question. Your hand's still up, sir. Is that an old hand?
It's an old hand, sorry.
Not at all. I will now go to Derek, who's next on my list, if I may.
Hi there. You can see me. I'm looking at your presentation on a 24-inch monitor, and there's quite a lot of information. Some of the font sizes aren't very big. They're okay on here, but is the experience different if you were looking on a phone? So many people will actually sit on their phones and look at it. Is it
Yeah.
a different experience, or do you have to look at the very small font?
No, it's a very different experience. Danny, I don't know if you want to come on to explain the formatting and cover a little bit of that off for me, just so it's not just me talking all the time. Danny is our digital lead for the Trust, digital communications lead, and has been leading the way with the development of the website and the intranet. Danny, do you want to comment further on that, or do you want me to carry on?
Hi, Dale. Yeah, I can. It's so the website has been specified for phones as well. So everything, when you go on the website, everything will change round, and the font sizes will be bigger, and pictures will display differently to if you're on a mobile phone rather than if you're on a laptop or a desktop machine. If that makes sense. In some cases, it'll look better on a phone than it will on a laptop, and vice versa. But everything's been, I'm not quite sure the technical term that the website people use, but it's configured perfectly well for mobile phones.
Thank you. Very good.
Brill, thank you. I think it's Victoria Warner.
Yeah, hi. Just with regards to the staff intranet, or what's going to be the staff intranet, obviously I know that you're not going to automatically move some of the clinical information across to the new one. So clinical people who've got an intranet page, is there going to be, I know there's going to be some training for them. Are you expecting everything to be ready for when you launch the intranet? Because it seems a short time scale.
Yeah, it is a short time scale. We're moving to the 30th of January for the new intranet. We would like it to be as ready as possible. We are looking at how we can get contingencies in so that, for example, the website where we're transferring all the old website to a new domain, and that will sit somewhere very quietly on the internet for 3 months, where we'll be able to access in case we need to pull anything from it that hasn't moved. And we're looking at doing exactly the same for the old intranet, so that we're not losing anything in that regard. But we are going to be working with services. January is intranet month, and we'll be working with services to move everything over. And then once it's over, and kind of cutting and pasting the good stuff, losing the stuff we don't need to do, and then when it's moved over, developing it so that it's where it needs to be.
There'll be some training dates released then for that, for staff.
Yes, yeah, they'll be
Fabulous.
in January.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pervase, sorry, have we got sound, sir?
You can test now. Can you hear
Yes.
me?
We have you.
We can.
It's very nice to see that technology up and down the country is being upgraded in the primary care, in the secondary care, nationally. And one worry which we physicians have, would these systems talk to each other? Because it's no good, a system is too busy to do the trivia, but not the relevant clinical things, appointments, and other issues where computer technology could be of great help to us.
Yeah. In good news, they will absolutely talk to the other systems, and the main thing, our website won't particularly need to do that, because everything that's on there will be a click away. So people will be clicking on links or opening documents that are cited within the website, so it'll be there and it'll be within a click away. Our intranet will have direct links through to clinical systems, so colleagues that are on would be able to go on to clinical systems and click through to those, and it will directly speak to those clinical systems. And once we have the electronic patient record, which is the full system-wide the full interface, I lovingly call it the mothership. Once we have that, we will absolutely directly interconnect with all our EPR. So it will do as we move forward, and it does with what we've got now, in short.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret.
Hi, Carly.
Oh, yeah.
Nice to see you again. Couldn't not ask a question, could I?
It's lovely to see you.
Really wanted to know about it's great that we're getting a new website. It's been wanted for a long time. But how are we going to make sure? How are you going to make sure that it's kept up to date? Because we all know how quickly things change across the organisation, and there's nothing more frustrating from a patient's point of view or a visitor's if you go on something and it's information that's well out of date. So just can you explain how that's going to work, please?
Yeah. Each page has a date that will be a review and a renewal date where we will have it programmed for us to review that, and we're taking that on within the communications team, and also with leads from each of the areas, so they'll get the same notifications that we will, that the page needs to be reviewed. We're doing a lot more in terms of Google Analytics to understand the use of the site and those areas that get the biggest clicks or footfall, if you like. So we'll be able to make sure that they're as up to date, and we'll know where people and how people utilize the website far more than we do at the moment. One of the things that we've committed to as well is that the information on there will be up to date, and it will be far simpler and easier to use, which from a comms point of view means that we'll be able to know all our pages. At the moment, it's a bit of a beast that's evolved over the years, and trying to catch it when it's got its tentacles all over is been a bit of a challenge. So with the new one, we know that it's almost like a blank sheet of paper or a brand new notebook, as opposed to trying to go through all your pages to find that one note that you made 20 months ago type thing. It'll be a much clearer and easier format, and the team that have put that in have built the structure to allow us to do so and to make sure that it's timely. So for example, policies will be put on there, and they'll also have a renewal date that will be ascribed to that policy, which is not something that we've had in the past. It's a development piece, and that it won't all happen immediately, and don't go on expecting it to be, like I say, it's a journey, not a destination. But it will be a lot better in being able to be as up to date as possible. Yeah.
Great. Look forward to it.
Brill. I notice no one's got any hands up, but I am going to ask at this point, are there any particular wish lists or pet hates that people really like about websites that they go to on a daily basis, or really dislike that they go to on websites on a daily basis? Any particular thoughts on that? Ken?
Again, I'll come back to it. There are too many websites that have not been thought about from the end user point of view, and are just thrown together with bits of code from the cloud, if you like. It drives me nuts. So again, that comes down to not just the first release, but as you go on making releases, that you do make sure that you play those past a number of people who are not familiar with this, or you're just dropping in the deep end and say, right, find out where you've got to go because this is wrong with you, or you've got to see so and so, or you want some advice, whatever it is. That and then you can see that it's up to date. That's for me the key. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think that's something that we very much need to have got at the heart of all our decisions when it comes to what we post online. David? I can't hear you. Where are you?
Right, hopefully you can hear me now, yes?
Yes.
Good. Unfortunately, I missed the presentation. I had a doctor's appointment, but I've been listening to the questions and comments. My biggest frustration with websites, and in particular the current hospital website, the Royals website, it seems to be style over substance, style over content. Far too much thought given to graphics than there is to patients' navigational needs. If I'm a patient and I want to get information about a hospital, I need to know it within 2 or 3 clicks. I don't want to have to scroll and click and go on to another link and so on. And quite often patients are in a distressed state when they're looking for information to visit a hospital. whether
Mm.
it be as a patient, whether it be as a patient's member of family visiting someone who is very poorly. They don't want to mess around with technology. They want the facts and they want them now.
Mm.
If you can achieve that, you will have done wonders. You really will. So I look
let's
forward
hope we
to seeing the
can.
news.
I
Sorry?
think let's hope we can, because I totally am with you on that. The information that we've got around the use of the site, so the areas of the site that have the highest traffic, we'll be able to reduce the number of clicks to those areas based on where we position them on the page. So we know why people come to us. We need to give them what they're looking for, basically. And we should be able to reduce that and make that as accessible as possible. And that will grow in its intelligence. So the more people click on those areas and visit our site, and for what the reasons why, we'll then be able to put those front and center. So if you were to go on, we know that people are particularly interested about getting here, contacting us, working with us. So we know that those will be front and centre, but the information around our PALS service or particular services that are, and to be fair, when I've done it before, it's always the surprising services that you're a little bit like, oh, I never thought that would have been a priority. Maternity services will be high up, and our visitors charter will also be high up because they're big factors. But we're looking at continually making sure that the clicks are as minimal as possible. So hopefully some more substance behind that style, as well as some nice style if we can get there.
Also, the
Thanks,
search
Molly.
function will be much better than the current website as well. Bit more clever about what you wanted to search for, and so rather than having to go through several clicks like you might have to sometimes, you could just chuck it in the search bar at the top and it'll give you that page straight away at the top.
Yeah, you've read my mind with that. That was going to be a supplementary. The current search function is a nightmare. You know, it really does need to be improved considerably. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek.
Yeah, hi. One of the problems you get with websites, I'm thinking actually, I looked at the Hallamshire one a week or two ago, is keeping the thing updated. Now, this I presume is a big problem with all big websites. Have we got a system in place so that we can, so that you can look through all, or
Yes.
is it updated by individual departments or what?
So,
what's the process?
So when the information is posted on each page, it will have a notification set to that page for whoever owns that page, whether it be us as the communications team or the service itself, probably both on some occasions. And what will happen is that when that information is set to be renewed, which will be ascribed at the point it's written, there will be an email to parties to say you need to check the information. We'll also be across the information because it's a lot more simpler and easier to navigate and to utilise. So we'll make sure that that information is as up to date as we possibly can. And we know from Google Analytics, which will tell us those areas and those sections of the website that are the most used, what we need to make sure is the most refreshed and up to date, and make sure it's as up to date as it possibly can be. So there's no golden bullet, there's no silver bullet, should I say, but we are in the process of trying to desperately improve that to make sure that it is clean and clear, and quite simple to update, and colleagues have all had the training to allow us to do that.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll put in our contact details. So if you think of anything and you want to contact us thereafter, you've got our contact details. If one of my team could just pop them in the chat, that would be brilliant, please. And then if you have any questions, please let us know. Equally, Ken, particularly, if you're keen on trying to break our new toy, then please do so, and feedback to us. We'd really appreciate that. like I say, this is a journey, not a destination, and we need to make sure that we're hearing everybody's feedback. So please do, when it's launched next Monday, have a good old route around, see what you can find, and give us that feedback, and we'll see where we can and what we can do with it over 2024.
Okay, I'll do that as long as I don't get invited in for operations I don't need.
We're a bit busy at the moment, so that's probably not going to happen, but that would be brilliant. Thank you. Excellent. Any more for any more? Anything else? That leaves me to end on a real positive note then and say yet again thank you to my team, Danny, Lois, Shah, Amanda, everyone that's working really hard behind the scenes to get this done and get this delivered. Thank you to Nick for helping to arrange today and get today sorted as a member event for us, and especially thanks to all our members for joining. It's been lovely to see some new faces and some familiar faces out there, and it's always nice to have these conversations. If there is anything that you've got any questions or feedback, please let us know, and Merry Christmas everybody. It's soon upon us, 2 weeks today, and we'll leave it there. Thank you everybody.
Bye everybody, thank you.